all of you for making an effort to coming out on a Sunday night. We all know that there's other places that you could be, and you chose to be here with us. So we want to thank you for that. That deserves a round of applause in itself. So let's start the night off with that. Some of our sponsors for tonight have been Marriott Courtyard, the City Club, Compass Group, Manchester's Farms, Halperins. We're in Le Cordon Bleu. Obviously, they're our host sponsor. And then Bruce's Best. So we want to give a round of applause to them for sponsoring us. First off, I'm going to try to work with the mic, but if it doesn't work, I feel like I'm shouting. It's going in and out. First off, just understand that the Edna Lewis Foundation was started roughly 3 years ago. Chef Joe Randall, who's sitting to my right, is the president, and he wanted to create a foundation to honor fellow colleagues, honor amazing culinarians that are in the industry that have been looked over sometimes, and some of them have been celebrated, but for the most part, not necessarily on the mainstream. And so we found it very fitting to attach this foundation in the name of Edna Lewis. And we want to thank her sister, Ms. Ruth, for being here tonight. She's 90 years old. So she trekked all the way from Virginia. And we want to thank you, Ms. Ruth. We want to thank you. We want to thank you. We have some other esteemed guests. We have Ms. Carolyn O'Neill, who's going to be on the program, but I want to recognize her. We want to thank you for understanding what we're trying to do and for being a big supporter for African Americans in the industry for a long time. So thank you. At one time, one of the only people really making our names known. So we want to thank you for coming. And so we have a program that we're going to put together, or that we did put together. I'm going to MC, but I'm not going to be doing the talking. We're going to have the chefs come out and talk during their courses. And so, who would you like me to call?
Sure, because they got his course in front of them.
All right. So the first course, Chef Shula, can you come on out? I see there's a course that has been served and presented. So Chef Dal Shul is one of the professors, instructors at the Cordon Bleu. He is the director of the academy. And so he's going to come out and tell you what is sitting in front of you or about to be sitting in front of you. Chef Shula.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's see if it works.
Good evening. How's everyone? We're going to get this mic right at some point. I'm sorry. This evening is just a collaboration of so many different chefs from all over the country that's here to recognize and honor Chef Evans. And so tonight, you're going to see their heart, their expressions on all of these dishes. If you have any questions or whatnot, I'll try my best to bring out the chefs so they can explain their dishes. Put that down.
Yep, exactly.
Sorry about that. But we're starting off tonight with a nice little duck dish. The duck dish is just a nice sous vide poached. It was brined in a nice citrus brine, and we tie that together with a nice pickled vegetable slaw. And the vegetables is a root vegetable. Okay. Also, you have like a little beet juice and a truffle sauvignon, which is made with a little Madeira wine. Okay. So I hope that you enjoy that. We're also going to follow up with a fish course from Chef Troy, and then we're going to continue on, and then we'll bring the chefs out every now and then just to kind of explain the meal. But if you have any questions, if you need anything, please let us know. Thank you all so very much. We got a lot of work to do, and we just hope that you enjoy the evening. Okay. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. You wanna get into this, or you wanna? Okay. So, as I was saying earlier, the Edna Lewis Foundation is a foundation that is the brainchild of Chef Joe Randall, and initially when he thought about coming up with this, he made a call to several chefs. Myself was one of them. Chef Darrell Evans was another. And then a couple of the chefs that are cooking the meals tonight, they'll come out, and they're also on the committee. So, without further ado, I want to bring Chef Randall up to the podium and let him talk for a little bit. Chef Joe Randall.
Good evening and welcome. This evening is a wonderful celebration of food and hospitality, and it's a tribute to two wonderful people today. April 13th is Edna Lewis's birthday. If she could live in, she'd be 98 years old today. She was a wonderful cook. She loved food, and she enjoyed seeing people who enjoyed good food. The second phase of this is a tribute to a wonderful young man who any human being would have been proud to know him and privileged to call him their friend. And I feel privileged to have been able to do so. His name was Chef Darrell Evans, and he was a wonderful cook. He was a wonderful human being and a wonderful person. So we are here tonight to establish the Darrell E. Evans Memorial Scholarship, meaning that in the future, some young culinarian is going to work his way. And I say work because we've decided that this is something that you're going to have to earn. It's not a gift, but it will help someone in their career. And so we are planning to establish criteria and receive application for candidates, and then select 4 candidates, and then there'll be a cook-off, and the best man win it all. And so that is the future. You're here tonight supporting those efforts, and we appreciate it. Again, Miss Ruth Smith is here from Virginia, and her daughter, Miss Maddie, is here from Illinois, and they are the family of Edna Lewis. And so we are thankful and pleased that they were able to come and join us again this year. When I first got it in my head that there was something needed to be done to recognize the contribution that African Americans have made to food in America, it was very clear to me that we needed an organization that would be respected. And when I thought about who we should name it after, I couldn't think of anybody that was more respected in America than Edna Lewis when it came to food. So thus, the Grand Dame of Southern Cooking, the Julia Child of Southern Food, as she was quoted to be, became the marker for where we wanted to deal with this foundation. As Marvin said, I called him, but I called the people that I know will say yes. There's no need in calling people you think will say no. And so my second call was to Chef Darrell Evans, who has been supporting me in my endeavors for over 20 years. When I worked with the Taste of Heritage Foundation, he would come to Washington, D.C., and I have memories of Edna Lewis, Darrell Evans, Leah Chase, Patrick Clark, all of us in the same kitchen at the same time, trying to make people understand that we are proud to be culinarians and proud of the heritage that African Americans have in food service. So this is something that I've been involved with for 25, 30, 40 years now. They call me the old man in the crew. But what I've found is when you can't push people above you up, if you reach down and grab a few folks under you and lift them up, you'll get there anyhow. And that's what I decided to do. And these young fellas have, every time I asked them to come to the plate, they come ready to play. And so tonight we have some wonderful chefs. I see Timothy Dean, who was on Top Chef, but I knew him when he was a young whippersnapper, working at the Watergate Hotel for Jean-Louis Paladin. And he also worked for Patrick Clark at the A. Adams in Washington, D.C. In the back we have Bernard Camouche. Bernard has been with Emeril Lagasse since he was 15 years old. He started out at Commander's Palace. And he runs all of Emeril's restaurants in Florida now. So these fellas are serious about food. And they're here tonight to show their love and respect for Darrell Evans. Some never cooked with him and didn't know him, but they knew his reputation, and out of love, they're here tonight. So we want you to enjoy the rest of your evening. I want to say welcome and thank you for coming. We want to celebrate. We want to enjoy food. And I'll talk to you a little bit more later about Darrell. We have a resolution from Senator Lester Jackson from the state of Georgia. We'll read a little later. And yesterday we read a proclamation from the city manager, city president of the City Council of Atlanta. And they bestowed warm and wonderful feelings about someone who's well deserving of all that can be said about him. So sit back and relax, enjoy yourself. Thank you so much.
Roasted parchment potato puree, seasoned ghost bread on top, salad butter, asparagus, smoked tomato ben blanc. And I hope y'all really enjoy the meal, and I'm looking forward to we appreciate everything you should do for us. Thank you.
And slightly roasted a little bit. Underneath there's a sunchoke puree. And then the quail is glazed with a beet gastrique and it's finished with a black truffle sauce and microgreens. Enjoy, thank you.
To you. Tonight we have a honey poached Maine lobster that was served in the immersion circulator, which is just a water bath that stays at a constant temperature, so it keeps the lobster nice and moist. We have a citrus vinaigrette served with it, mosh, have a little bit of radicchio inside, and mixed greens. We finished it with chopped chives and fleur de sel. Bon appetit.
Like you said, don't let this die.
It was wonderful hors d'oeuvres earlier. I'm going to let him have a few words. Chef Pepper.
Thank you, Chef Randall. It's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting us. We really enjoyed being here. Chef Pepper and I have a catering company here in Georgia, Atlanta, and Marietta. It's called Time to Dine Catering. We really love Daryl, we got a chance to work with him a couple different times and a couple different projects that he did around the city. And he was an inspiration to us. For me, he was the first black chef I met that had achieved so much in just a short amount of time. So I met him, oh gosh, he was probably in his early 30s or maybe late 20s, and he had already gone to the Olympics and gotten gold. And we were the same age. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to up my game here. But it was like so great just being able to see him. And he was just an inspiration, and I loved the way he moved in the kitchen. I loved the way he taught when he was working. And it was just really great to know someone like him and know that, I could achieve that. And he was just all around a great person to be around. And thank you all. I hope you all enjoyed the hors d'oeuvres today. We had a great time making them for you. But I hope you enjoy the next courses. We're having a great time. Thank you for sharing them with us. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to thank, first of all, Edna Lewis family for enabling us to have this event for her legacy. Second of all, I'd like to thank one of my best friends, Chef Daryl Evans. I always get choked up when I speak about him because I feel like he's going to walk through it any time. He used to go in the hospital. I see him in there for 3 days. Next thing you know, he's back at work. I was long yesterday, but I'm going to be short today. Good. And the statement I'm going to make is Chef Daryl Evans, he loved the Lord. And what he said in the hospital, right before he went to hospital, he said, the Lord is going to show up and show out. And he said, I'm not going to die. This cancer is not going to beat me. And he's right, because his legacy lives on. He's in the plates, he's in the food, he's all over this building. So, and that's basically what I want to say, that that Chef Evans was a great guy, amazing on food, but an amazing person. He didn't do nothing but uplift people when he came around. Never really had an ill word to say. Made the dishwasher feel just as important as his top chef. But we recognize Chef Daryl Evans in the proclamation, and we recognize Chef Evans daily. I do, because I used to talk to him every other day. He gave me all 3 numbers to reach his wife, and I know she got tired of hearing me sometimes. If I couldn't reach him, I was gonna call. I had the work phone, the house phone, and the cell phone. And the last thing I'm gonna leave you on is never give up on anything, and never give up on yourself. Chef Daryl Evans, a year ago, told me he had stage 4 cancer. I didn't know what stage 4 is, so I had to go check on people who had cancer. I said, what is stage 4? He acts like it's nothing. Stage 4. I said, he shouldn't be walking around with stage 4. He should be laying in the bed. But a year later, before this claim, because he never did nothing timely, but he was always on time. But today we celebrate Chef Evans, and we always celebrate Chef Evans. And I gotta go through this food for you too. Forgot about the food. First we start out with the lamb. It's a fennel crusted lamb. Chef Evans was working at home. He was working for Chef Catherall, and he seen this French chef toasting cumin and toasting fennel. So he toasted, he ground it up in a coffee grinder, and I got inspired by that item on the menu from him. The second item is golden beets. He always liked golden beets. He used to roast them and just eat them like it was potato chips. So you got roasted beets going along with your Swiss chard. You got white corn, fava bean leeks, and pancetta, succotash. The succotash represents Columbus, Georgia. It represents Southern country. The fava beans represent he was trained European style. So I didn't use lima beans, I used fava beans, which brings everything together in that plate. blackberry lamb juice. We stayed with something that he liked to mesh the food, what actually the animal would eat. So the blackberry represents what the lamb would, if he was in the forest, what he would eat. And then we got the white pepper goat cheese ice cream. I know it seems kind of, why would I have ice cream with my lamb? But the ice cream is going to drip down into your succotash and actually make your succotash creamy. Didn't add too much cream, but let the ice cream actually present a cream to your succotash. He did that item back in the 90s at Villa Christina. So, but that was my last words, and I'd like to say, and thank you so much for coming tonight.
Honoring the life and memory of Darrell E. Evans and for other purposes. Whereas the state of Georgia mourns the loss of one of its most distinguished citizens with the passing of Darrell E. Evans on February 26, 2014. And whereas Darrell Evans was born on November 24, 1961 in Columbus, Georgia, a beloved son of Edward and Violet Evans. And whereas he was a 1979 graduate of Georgia W. Carver High School and studied business administration at Chattahoochee Valley Community College from 1981 to 1993. And whereas after college, Darrell enrolled in the National Apprenticeship Program with the American Culinary Foundation at the Cherokee Town and Country Club, which has been named the very best private club in America since 1997. And whereas he was the first African American member of the United States Culinary Olympic team, winning 3 gold medals in 1988 and 1 gold medal in 1992. And whereas Darrell achieved countless awards and accommodations throughout his career, including being inducted into the Chef's Hall of Fame in 1989, winning Culinary of the Year in 1992, 1993, and also in 1996, and winning the National Taste of Excellence competition in 1994. And whereas he served as executive chef at the Four Seasons Hotel with previous executive chef positions at hotels, fine dining restaurants, country clubs, and 4-star rated establishments. And whereas Darrell was most recently the executive chef for the City Club of Buckhead and was known as one of the premier African American chefs of our time, as demonstrated by his fan base in Atlanta and throughout the world. And whereas he was united in love and marriage to Ms. Deborah R. Evans, and was blessed with 2 remarkable children, Branford and Brandon. And whereas a compassionate and generous man, Darrell will long be remembered for his love of family and friendship, and this loyal gentleman and friend will be missed by all who have the great fortune of knowing him. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the life and memory of Darrell E. Evans is honored, and the deepest and most sincere feelings of regret are expressed at his passing. So resolved this 7th day of April, 2014. Dr. Lester Jackson, District 2. That is the resolution. So there's a gentleman that we had on the program, a master chef by the name of Tom Catherall, who was recently in Florida, and he was supposed to be on the program. And we learned tonight that he's still in Florida fishing. But his fishing buddy is actually here, and he also knows Darrell very well, and that is Mr. Bruce Patterson. And I just want to say, as Bruce is working his way up, you know, you hear the story about there's 6 degrees of separation to a lot of people in your life. Bruce is a single degree of separation, because Bruce had a restaurant here in town called Spice, and Darrell Evans was the chef. And Troy Single worked at that restaurant, along with Rodney, and I too worked at that restaurant. And so this one man has had a lot of wonderful African American talent work for him. So Bruce, come on up and talk for us. I don't know anybody.
Thank you, baby.
I don't know anybody
Oh my
that
God.
has that connection.
All right, a couple of things. I I was told to speak about 3 minutes ago, so this is my speech real fast. So I guess the question I really want to ask everybody is, why are we here? Edna Lewis, flagstone, flagship, and the start of this creativity of what we're trying to get accomplished here. I may read my speech, So the other thing is, you have Daryl, and everybody knew Daryl could sit here and cry. We're all blessed to have known him. The best man I've ever met in my life. I want to be more like him now, and at 50-something years old, I don't want to stop. I want to start over. Daryl Evans is a start-over guy. He never gave up. Guys, he's losing his liver. He's got cancer. And all he can do is smile. So, we're here. You got Edna. You got Daryl. You got the city of Atlanta where civil rights was born. So what in the heck are we doing? So tonight hopefully is going to be a wake-up call to say, let's not forget. Is this the last hurrah? This is it? Let's have dinner and have a feel-good moment, I call it. Feel-good moment. Which drives me crazy. I went to the best funeral service I have ever been in my whole 57 years of life. I turned 57 2 days ago, by the way. So, thank you. It was the most moving experience of my life in a long time. I can't sit still for 2 minutes versus 2.5 hours, and I did. But also I cried, and I shook, and I prayed more than 150 times that afternoon. I said blessings and thank you, God, and why did I screw up, and why did I do this? What in the world have I done? And God's blessed me a lot in my life. But I was half blind half the time to recognize it. So He opened my eyes up, and I wanted to know, there's a few of us here, and had Daryl's memorial on that Friday. I missed it because I was working. The funeral was great. I heard the funeral service in Columbus was unbelievable. I guess there was a sampling yesterday. I came back up here, and things happen for reasons. And I'm just glad to be able to talk to y'all tonight versus Tom, because I'm a better speaker than he is. I'm definitely better looking. So, but all that being said, but just don't forget this night. When I left that funeral, I cried 2.5 hours that day after the funeral. I cried 2 hours in it. I called a girlfriend of mine over here and I said, man, I got to do something. I'm in wholesale food distribution business and I want to give some of my food here. I was thinking in my mind, how can I do different things? She owns a bakery. I called her and said, donate the bread. Let's go to your place and make soup. I got the vegetables. And let's go to a mission. Let's go to a Baptist church. Let me do something for Daryl. Let me do something for Daryl. Keep him living. But guess what? That was a feel-good moment. It's been 2 weeks, and have I done anything? No. I've fallen again. So all I'm trying to tell you tonight is that we all are here having a feel-good moment. So let's don't let this feel-good moment go away, guys. Just take this moment and not make it an ending. Let's make it a starting of something. So I'm asking and begging. This table make a committee, that make a committee. Let's go out to 5Ks. Let's do a T-shirt. Let's go feed the homeless. Let's raise some money for this school. And my challenge to you is Atlanta, Georgia. You got Edna. You got an angel falling in your or our lap. So why don't we use this for a momentum shift? And y'all be the flagship of the country, or us be the flagship of the country. You know, Marvin said, minorities and blacks and all that, but you know what? I didn't choose my parents. Here I am. Boop, here I am. So whatever. So we're all in this together. We got to live together, eat together, love together. And this Daryl, my God, that big smile. Daryl would be loving this, guys. He's crying right now in heaven, sing us a blessing. So, tell you what we can do. If these guys can find the right people, and this 2014 now? Let's do this again next year, and I'll start saving my pennies and nickels. And if we can, amongst us, raise, $10,000, $20,000, I'll throw $5,000 or $10,000 down next year at this anniversary party. I want to have an anniversary party, okay? Amen. Bless the Lord. Good luck and glory to God.
Thank you, Bruce. You guys ready to eat yet? Oh, you need a little more time. Are you asleep? Are you like in a food coma? Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little bit more time. We're going to have another wonderful culinarian, human being, good friends. It is you. Just a wonderful person. We're gonna have Carolyn O'Neill come up and speak a little bit. Carolyn O'Neill.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you.
Look at these beautiful portraits up here. Of course, we have Daryl Evans and that smile. Violet, you know that smile. And Edna Lewis and that smile. And the eyes. I'm Carolyn O'Neill, and I worked at CNN from like 1982 till 2000, so quite a long time. I mean, actually kind of did food on TV before the Food Network, and had the opportunity to interview so many fabulous chefs and culinarians. And Bernard, hey, shout out, good to see you, how are you? And so many people. Chef Randall, thank you for calling me. By the way, when he calls, you don't say no. You say, oh, that sounds really cool. I want to do that. I want to join you doing that. And Carrie, thank you for doing so much great follow-up and organization. Of course, that's Chef Randall's gorgeous daughter, Carrie, who organized so much of this. Shout out. All in high heels, might add. It's great to be here. And in preparation as a journalist, and I covered food and nutrition at CNN, and now I work with the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. And I do a column every single Wednesday called Healthy Eating Out. I've been doing it for 7 years. And I think when I started, people thought I probably read it for about 3 weeks, because that's all you could talk about eating out. But I've never run out of topics. And it's because of the inspiration of chefs that I have met throughout my career. And so let me just tell you, how did Carolyn O'Neill know, like Edna Lewis, how did she know Daryl Evans? Well, I first met Daryl when he was at Azalea with Tom Catherall, who you've just heard about from Bruce Patterson. And I do remember that smile and the enthusiasm in the kitchen. And then, I got my notes just like it's the Academy Awards or something here. Smile, and then the second S is serious. I picked up on him how serious he was about how much fun he was having, but how serious he was about the technique and the ingredients and getting the food on the plate in front of people to see them smile. And then of course come back again and order it again and smile again, which is good for business. And then the next S is surprise. It's like, because as time went on, I would say, hey, there's Daryl. Now he's, he's in Villa Cristina. And what a joy it was to see his smile there. And I lived very close to there and of course enjoyed that place. And then to see his smile at Spice. And his enthusiasm and Bruce, your investment there to really bring the talents of this wonderful cuisine to the forefront. Edna Lewis. I first met Edna. I'm a member of La Dames Escoffier, which is a women's international culinary organization, and Edna is literally one of our grand dames. I mean, you have to be voted on by the entire membership across the United States and around the world. We pick one, not every year, one every 2 years. And this was several years ago, obviously, when Edna was alive, and she was our grand dame. And this is when we were having a meeting in Atlanta, and what a joy it was to get to know so much about her. When I was at CNN, remember 1996, the Olympics? Well, I decided, everybody was covering, of course, the business of the Olympics, or the sports of the Olympics. I decided it would be my time at CNN to do a story on Southern food, since the world's attention was on the South and on Atlanta. So I interviewed Miss Edna. And I interviewed chefs in Charleston and Savannah, and of course all across Georgia and New Orleans, and even, God forbid, all the way to Texas. But it was great to be able to tell the stories and show the foods. And this was on the occasion at Bull Call. And Ruth, you were there. I do have a video that I have made copies of, and I will give to the Edna Lewis Foundation, and you were gracious enough to give me an interview. Miss Edna was so busy, of course, with all the press at that point. I decided to interview Ruth instead. So it's a great video. Just in wrapping and in focusing on the next great course that we're going to have from these wonderful chefs, I just wanted to say, as a journalist, I love my program. I love the bios of all these chefs. And this is a keeper. There are so many stories and careers and great connections. And what I have enjoyed, kind of peeking into the kitchen, and Bernard, how many times have you had your picture taken with a young student back there? The future culinarians. As I looked up to Daryl, as I looked up to Edna, and those great culinarians that are here right now, there are young people at Le Cordon Bleu who are looking up to these people and hearing the stories about the impact that Daryl and Edna made on the culinary world. And so I just give you this. It is the promise that Daryl would want us to make. It's certainly the promise that Edna had us make at Madame Escoffier to the future culinarians. And I raise a glass, and Nicole, I'm going to borrow yours if you don't mind, to the future culinarians that are inspired by Daryl Evans and Edna Lewis, and we get to enjoy the beautiful food tonight. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much. Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Bruce.
And for the Evans family, you have my sympathy, you have my love, and you have my understanding. Remember the wonderful things that your son did. Remember the love he gave you, the joy that he gave you. And God will bless you with the strength to overcome. And I want to say to this gathering, we're going to raise money for a scholarship. I've already sent mine for now. Me too. Every time you want to buy a new suit or a new dress, put it in an envelope. Yeah. And let that dress or that suit wait. And let us help educate our children. Yes. Our children need to be educated properly. Yes. And with this foundation and the scholarship, you will be able to do it. That's my request, and you better listen to it. I want to thank all of you for being here, supporting this effort. For Edna Lewis, she was a wonderful sister, a wonderful person, and I loved her. Down sometime in life, you will realize the thing that she wasn't able to do. As she became ill with dementia as her age increased. But God will fix all of that. He will let you know what went on. And I can tell you, but I'm not, because I'm going to leave it alone. I praise us for being in this beautiful setting, the kind of cookery that we are in, and whoever allowed it to happen here, I want you to receive all the blessings that you can receive, because it's wonderful in this atmosphere. I'm not going to take too long. I want to thank God for being able to be here tonight. My daughter is with me, and they celebrated my 90th birthday a couple of weeks ago. I didn't have a birthday this year, and she had put it in the newspaper, and that's why I found the invitation. So I stay so busy, she didn't want to tell me ahead of time. But I thank God for the days that He's given me in my life. I thank God for my strength and my health. I thank God for all of you, because we're going to continue to help educate our people that they can have a job to go to. And I also want to thank the Lord for giving me the strength to still raise my chickens, my ducks, my quails, my turkeys, whatever, and a garden. And I promised the chef that next year when he serves you quail, it's going to be homegrown, and the ducks are going to be homegrown. So you make sure that you buy a ticket to get back here to eat some of that homegrown that don't have no chemicals in it. And that's my main thing. I could talk forever, but I believe in homegrown, home heat, and stop pushing that stuff in the microwave. And let the cancer say bye-bye to cancer. Okay? I thank this man over again and over again and over again for all that he's doing. Whoever is doing anything to help him, may God bless you with understanding and a desire to mentally and physically support this effort. I thank you.
But I couldn't say something. Girl, I was baby top. And he grew up wanting to do things in the kitchen. I let him do it. He come home, and that's his favorite recipe of mine. He came home last on Thanksgiving. He cooked so much food, I'm saying, I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And he had it in these little pans, you know, separated. And she would take it to one house and get it in the best life. But he always did different things. He came home, he worked around the house. Hey, how you guys do so much? So Mama, I look at them. They do that. I learned that way. I told all three of my children to do that. Love somebody. And what you all doing now, you're doing the right thing. You got to get the truth. You got to get them like this. Show them what you cook, how you cook it. You got to take it to a place where you can cook it. Or bring them in. I don't know how you do it, but I had an idea. We at home, they'll cook what he wants, he give it to us, we eat it. I never liked lamb, but I like lamb to death. Yeah, and that fish, he showed me how to do that. It's expensive, but you better eat it. But he could cook. Same thing. And when I put he put that on the thing that he was stuck in the world, I called the radio station and they had calls and all of that. He was coming on there 10 or 15 minutes, I didn't do that much. But there was just 45. He never complained. He said, Mama, I am not sick. God is using me. And he would love to go to the hospital because he said there, he could tell if he's so Mama about what's wrong. Just praying at God. If any man be in Christ is going to get used to the old thing going to happen. And he said, he told him that. I've been married 59 years. My husband is 88 and I'm 84. But I work in my yard. I do anything I want to do. I can do all things through Christ. You got to teach the children that because they're getting away from it. You got to teach the Lord in the business. Because he said, Mama, I tell you going to work. He said, yes, I got my desk there. I'm not working, Mama. He'll tell me that, but I know he works. But he's a good God. All of my children. And I told his wife, baby, I said, y'all can't go out there all night. At 12 o'clock, y'all need to be in the house. And then, I did it because I was going to look over because my children say, and I hear a siren coming over, what's wrong with the children? But I'm going to tell you this, raise your children up the way they just go, oh, they won't depart from it. You got to tell them you depart. God gave you children to raise up. He didn't gave you them to go to clubs and things like that. It's okay to go. But don't let them stay out too late. And I had to say something, so they're over something like that, say, one thing together. But he's a good guy. And he don't hear everything. He come home, get the fan, get the door. I mean, you got to do everything to get it home. I do all things like that. Yes. And he was a good guy. Y'all, he ain't dead. Yes. Don't you think he's gone? Yes. Because he's gonna keep all y'all mind on what you do and do it right. Yes. And I appreciate you letting me take this about that. Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much. Edna and Brian? Are we ready? Tell me 10 minutes, all right? 5? Yes. Adela? All right. So I get to ad lib for 5 minutes, y'all hang in here. Well, I want to tell you all how much I appreciate you coming out. It's something that I see growing, and I know that eventually we will be able to do the things that we want to do to continue Daryl's legacy and Edna's legacy and the legacy of all those that came before us as professional cooks. I want to share this with you because Daryl and I talked about it often. They call me the old history man. So here's a little history for you. Prior to 1977, cooks in America were considered domestics. You all saw the help, you know what I'm talking about. Now, if you came from Europe, you were a professional. Once you got off the plane or the boat, you became a domestic. So, the ACF, American Culinary Federation, General McLaughlin, and sponsored by Miners Company, for 14 years from 1963 to 1977 to get the classification changed. And so we now have a profession that people want to be involved in, that prior to that it was relegated to folks like us. You know, I've taught at 3 universities and 4 culinary schools, and I've had grandmothers tell me, I didn't send my baby to school to be no cook. I sent him to school to be somebody. Well, I'm old enough to remember in 1964 and 65 when Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. First thing folks said was, we don't have to work in your kitchen no more. So it was something that we didn't want to do because we had been relegated to us. And so a lot of young people didn't want to do this, but those of us that had examples. I had an uncle named Richard Ross. He was part of that legacy of African American caterers that dominated large cities in the Northeast. He was in Pittsburgh. He owned a catering business. He owned a restaurant in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And in the 60s, he gave me a tease for the business. My father died in 1959. I was 13 years old. So for 4 years, Uncle Dick kept me close to him. Whenever I went where I was supposed to be, I had to be with him in the kitchen somewhere, slicing butter, learning how to peel potatoes, cut meat, do something. But eventually I figured out I like to eat anyhow. So it wasn't a bad place to be. And you can look at me and see I learned how to eat before I learned how to cook. But the important thing is there were some wonderful examples of African American chefs that came before us. And the Edna Lewis Foundation, our heart and goal is to preserve that legacy. My mentor name was Robert W. Lee, and I think it's just so unique that we are here in Atlanta, in Georgia, because Chef Lee was born and raised in Atlanta. He worked at Henry Grady in the Biltmore Hotel in the teens, and I mean 1914, 1915. He had a third-grade education, but when I met him in the 60s, he had been the executive chef at the Harrisburg Hotel in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. From 1939 to 1967, he worked at one hotel. When he first got the job, he was the first African-American chef in that region at a major property. And a lot of people didn't want to work for him. So he sent bus tickets and train tickets to Atlanta and brought all those cooks that worked for him in Atlanta to Harrisburg. So I tell people I learned how to cook Southern up north. In the kitchen with all Southern cooks. We were cooking crab meat au gratin, fried chicken, okra and tomatoes. You know, I mean, this was every day. Good Southern food. People forget prior to 1983 there was no such thing as American regional cooking. It was just good food and bad food. And most of the good food came from the South, but they wasn't afraid to season it. So anyway, I want to thank you again. I want you to make an effort to make a donation to the Edna Lewis Foundation so we can make sure that the Darrell Evans Memorial Scholarship is established and continues. And you'll read about this contest next year when we have a cook-off to see who wins it all. All right. Thank you so very much. We're going to get it. Thank you. We're going to get everybody lined up and we're going to get dessert out here in a minute, and we're going to bring Heather and Brian out and let them tell you about what they prepared. Thank you so much. I know it's getting long. We're getting ready to get out of here. They're about to go to sleep on me. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for inviting us to be a part of this dinner. I'll tell you, I really never knew Chef Evans. I've met him once. I mean, of course, he's a legendary among all of us chefs. So, of course, being an alum of Cherokee, I had heard about him for many, many years and heard that he was a wonderful, wonderful man. So, of course, it wasn't a surprise when I met him for the first and only time, how warm and kind and sincere he was. And he actually came up to me and introduced himself to me, which I had never seen pictures of him. I'd heard of him, but I'd never seen pictures of him, so I didn't know what he looked like. And he actually came up to me and introduced himself, so of course I was in shock, and I was pretty speechless to say. But during that one moment that I had with him, it was, I just saw him as a very, very warm and kind-hearted soul. So I'm truly honored to be here, and especially cooking with my colleagues and, of course, alums of Cherokee. And also, secondly, I want to thank Brian. I have to admit something. I didn't do this dessert. It was only in writing, only on paper that I did this dessert. It really, truly goes to Brian. I'll be the first one to admit it. I knew that Chef Evans loved pound cake. I had actually asked Charlie, another Cherokee alum, what he loved, and he told me he loved pound cake and banana pudding. And so I had a very, very, very busy weekend, and so of course Brian, I found out that Brian was going to help me, and he offered to do all the components for this. So what you're actually eating was done by Brian. Thank you. I just put it together and just made it look, you know, give it a womanly touch. So thank you, Brian, for making this, beautiful. And I hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you. It was good.
And a few words from me. In the 3 years I worked with Chef Darrell, it just meant the world to me. He was such a great mentor, such a just kind soul. He was always there to talk to, always there to listen. And these were two of his favorites. I'd always save him the top of the pound cake, or the bottom, whichever way you want to call it. When we level it off, I'd have it sit in there for him when he got in, and then whenever we do banana pudding for the members, he always had a cup. So this one was for Chef Darrell.
Thank you both so much. God bless you.
But when he saw her, his eyes just sparked. He got up and started moving. He was in a little sound state that day. Maybe he wasn't feeling too well. But eyes sparked up, started moving, and it was just wonderful because he used to always say, she meant so much to him. And that's all she wants to say. Thank you.
Team gonna call Chef Mitchell, Chef Pepper, please come to the podium. Michelle, I guess if I put my glasses on, I might be able to see this. I celebrated my 50th about 2 weeks ago, so I have to wear glasses now. Chef Dal Shore, Chef Troy Singley, Chef Bernard Camuch, Chef Timothy Dean, Chef Charlie Hadney, Chef Joni, and Chef Heather. If you could all come up And also all the assistants that helped us from Cordon Bleu, also. We want you to come up. Brian, stay here, Brian. Don't. Good, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the culinary crew that put your meal together. Let's give them a warm applause. And before I hand the mic over to Chef Randall, I just want to say also we need to give a big thanks to Chef Randall's wife, Miss Barbara. Because without her, none of this would be put together. All right? Thank you, Miss Barbara. Chef Randall.
But I want to thank each and one of these chefs because they can attest that all I did was reach out and ask them to come. And they're here. So they heard what I asked and they knew what the cause was. And they didn't hesitate. But I want to take a moment and let Chef Darrell Schuler, who is the Director of Academics here at the Cordon Bleu School, have a moment with you. We appreciate him hosting us in this wonderful facility, giving us access to everything we need to get the job done. So we want to thank him so much.
Thank you very much. About a year ago, I saw some Facebook pictures with Chef Randall and Chef Evans and Todd and Dwayne, and I was a little jealous. And I was like, how come I'm not invited to the Edna Lewis Foundation dinner here? I'm a black man, you know? And somehow I think word got to Chef through Charlie, who I was judging in the competition. I said, I want to be a part of it. And out the blue, I get a phone call from Chef Randall. He said, I'm going to be there on Monday. I said, man, I just met you, we just talked. You're going to be here on Monday? He showed up Monday with his wife, and we sat in my office, and we laid out the foundation, the platform for this. And originally it was going to be a tribute to Chef Evans, but now it's truly a tribute and memorial to Chef Evans. And you know, we just did what we could to make this thing happen. A lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and I really want to thank Chef Joe for just having the faith in me to pull this thing together for him. Because I know that he was, you know, didn't really know much about me, but I wanted to make sure that we represent the legacy of Chef Evans. And if we had to do it again tomorrow night, we would. And, you know, this is just a small drop in the bucket for what he has done for us. And I know we're tired, but that doesn't mean anything right now. Chef Evans gave his life for us. And so tonight, this is for him. I thank you all for coming out, and we hope that we can continue this legacy forever. The family, thank you, we love you, we honor you, God bless you. Thank God for just allowing us to live during the time of Chef Evans. So thank you guys so very much. We love you so very much. Thank you.